Close your eyes and imagine a world before maps. Before anyone in Europe knew what lay beyond the endless blue horizon, it's the late 1400s. The world feels both vast and mysterious, full of myths, whispers, and the promise of unimaginable riches. For centuries, Europe's lifeline to Asia, the land of spices, silk, and gold, ran through powerful empires like the Ottomans and the Persians. Every merchant who dared to trade paid a heavy price. To the kings of Europe, this wasn't just trade. It was dependence, and they hated it. That frustration sparked a dream. What if there was another way to reach the East? A way that bypassed the empires and opened the doors to wealth, power, and God's glory. This question marked the birth of what we now call the Age of Exploration. Portugal led the charge, small, ambitious, and hungry for the sea. Prince Henry the Navigator wasn't a sailor himself, but his mind was the compass of the 15th century. Under his vision, Portuguese explorers began pushing farther south along the coast of Africa, each voyage adding another piece to the puzzle of the unknown world. They built new tools, the caravel, fast and strong, the astrolabe to measure the stars, and improved compasses that whispered secrets of direction even in the darkest storms. Every expedition returned with new maps, new routes, and new courage to go further. But while Portugal looked south, another man dared to look west, Christopher Columbus, a man of vision, or of madness depending on who you asked. He believed the world was far smaller than it truly was, that by sailing west from Europe he could reach Asia faster, cutting straight through the unknown Atlantic. He begged every royal court in Europe for help. Portugal said no, England said no, France ignored him. But in Spain, something was changing. After years of war, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella had finally united their kingdom under one flag. Their hearts burned with a hunger for glory and a belief that God had chosen them to expand his reach across the earth. To Columbus, they said one word that changed everything: yes. In 1492, 3 ships, the Niña, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, set sail from Palos, Spain. The sailors feared they would fall off the edge of the world. The ocean stretched endlessly before them. Days turned to weeks, weeks to terror. Then one night, under the silver glow of the moon, a cry echoed from the mast: "Land! Land!" Columbus had done it. He had crossed the unknown. But here's the twist. He thought he had reached Asia. He called the islands the Indies, and their people Indians. In truth, he had stumbled upon a land no European had ever seen before. A new world. The discovery shook Europe to its core. Maps had to be redrawn, borders rewritten. For kings and explorers, this wasn't just discovery, it was destiny. Gold, glory, and God became the pillars of the New World Order. The Age of Exploration had begun, but beneath its promise of adventure lay the shadows of conquest, slavery, and empire. The world would never be the same again. And this was only the beginning. The year is 1492. A ship slices through the endless waves of the Atlantic. At its helm stands Christopher Columbus, his eyes fixed on the horizon, his heart filled with dreams of glory. He believes he's found a shortcut to Asia, but destiny has other plans. When his boots touch the sands of the New World, history changes forever. The Americas, lands unknown to Europe, suddenly become the prize everyone wants. Spain is the first to strike. Fueled by ambition and gold, conquistadors march into the unknown, claiming entire civilizations in the name of the crown. Aztec temples fall, Incan cities burn. And with every battle, Europe grows richer and darker. This was not discovery, it was conquest. But Spain wasn't alone. Portugal sailed south, mapping Africa and claiming Brazil. England sent explorers chasing myths of lost cities and endless riches. And France, they came not for gold, but for glory and fur. In just a few decades, entire empires rose across oceans. New trade routes connected continents. Sugar, silver, and slaves became the lifeblood of the New World Order. Millions would perish. But for Europe, this was only the beginning of its rise to power. As explorers carved their names into maps, the old world looked west with hungry eyes. The conquest of the Americas had begun, and no empire would ever be the same again. The 1600s. The world has changed forever. The discovery of the Americas has turned the Atlantic Ocean into the most powerful highway on Earth. Every European empire now races to control it. In the north, England builds colonies, small wooden towns clinging to the edge of a vast, mysterious continent. Jamestown, Plymouth, New York, each one a fragile dream of power and profit. But behind every dream stands a shadow: disease, hunger, and conflict with the native tribes who had lived there for thousands of years. France sails up the St. Lawrence River, claiming lands that will become Canada. They trade fur, build alliances, and map the frozen wilderness. Meanwhile, Spain's Golden Empire stretches from Mexico to Peru, rich, ruthless, and unstoppable. But the more Europe takes, the more it begins to fight itself. Armies clash not just in Europe, but across oceans. The 7 Years' War, fought on multiple continents, decides who will rule the New World. When the smoke clears, Britain stands tall. Yet its victory comes at a cost. Taxes rise, colonists grow restless. And in 1776, a spark ignites: the American Revolution. For the first time, one of Europe's own colonies dares to break free. The United States is born, a new nation rising from the ashes of empire. But this was no end. It was only another beginning. Because while one empire fell, others tightened their grip on the rest of the world. Africa, Asia, the Pacific. The age of exploration had evolved into the age of empire, and the cost of power would soon become unbearable. The 19th century. The old empires of Europe still stand, but their foundations begin to crack. Spain loses its colonies in Latin America. Revolutions sweep from Mexico to Argentina, fueled by a single dream: freedom. Simon Bolivar rides through the Andes, declaring independence for millions. In the north, the young United States expands westward, pushing boundaries ever further, and pushing aside the native nations who once ruled those lands. The echo of conquest continues. New names, same hunger. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Europe enters the industrial age. Steamships replace sailing ships. Railroads and factories feed the machine of empire. Now exploration is no longer about discovery. It's about domination. Africa and Asia become new frontiers for power, carved by lines on maps drawn in royal offices far from the people they divide. But the world begins to resist. Independence movements rise. The American idea that nations can be free spreads like fire. From India to the Caribbean, people begin to question the empires that claim to rule them. Then comes the 20th century. 2 world wars shatter the illusion of European invincibility. The same nations that once conquered continents now fight to survive their own destruction. When the guns finally fall silent, a new order emerges. Colonies become countries, empires fade into history. Yet their legacy remains, in languages, in borders, in culture, and in pain. The exploration of the Americas was not just a journey across oceans. It was a journey into humanity itself. A story of ambition and courage, but also of greed and loss. And even today, the echoes of those sails and cannons still shape the world we live in. Because history never truly ends. It only changes form, waiting for the next explorer to set sail. Thanks for watching and subscribing my channel. PL is tell me in the comment about you want to know next.